In the most competitive conference in the Power Four in college football, there's a school that is primed for success in 2025. And no, I'm not talking about Colorado. We're talking about K-State next on the College Huddle. And joining me, guys, guys, it's going to get wild. I'm just going to tell you straight up right now. One of the craziest podcasts we have in the College Huddle is this podcast with the craziest name. It's Cocaine Willie, everybody. The Cocaine Willie Podcast. We're talking K-State with the chef and fireball Matt tonight. Boys, welcome to the College Huddle.
Yeah, this is the big boys. We're in the big show now, man. We done made it up. We done made it.
I don't know about that, fellas, but I know this much. I have never been a K-State fan in my life until last year when I met you guys. And then I'm like, okay, this is for real. These guys know how it's done, man. It is fantastic. I love your podcast. And I tell you what, it wouldn't be the same, guys, if we didn't have the man who's going to be bringing the glow sticks to the party tonight, right? I mean, if we're going to have a party, we might as well have Trolls be with us as well. What's going on?
The ringleader.
I'm here. Your co-hosts are booing you, man.
That's how it always goes. That's how it goes.
You're one button too low. You got to button that up a little more. We don't need
Got the taco meat hanging out, baby.
Disagree.
I like it.
Bob, I didn't know if you know this or not, but 95% of our viewers are male.
That sounds about right.
So this is by design. My bad. Okay.
Bob's going to win that other 5%, though. He's going to get that other 5% in. He's going to bring them in.
He is leaning in hard, ain't he? Okay. All right. Hey, I do have one request before we dive in. Bob, you got some of that music that you guys play? You got...
Not like imported into this interface.
That's how. Okay, I didn't know. I thought maybe you just walked around with like a little speaker. And you just,
I got the boombox. I got the boombox at Deion Sanders and all these coaches.
Oh.
Speaking of prime, I guess there we go. All right, fellas, let's do this before we forget to do this. One of you just tell everybody about your podcast, where the name came from, and where people can find you.
Bob, get in there.
We are the Cocaine Willie Podcast. The origination of the name, I guess where it came from, is there's a K-State logo. It's an alternate logo from the 70s or something around that time period that they call it the Shaggy Cat logo. If you search for Cocaine Willie, that logo will come up, and it's behind me there on my backdrop there, and also on my pennant over here for K-State. So that's the alternate logo. We obviously don't want to get in a bunch of trouble with K-State Athletics because it is a trademarked logo, but the logo is named the Cocaine Willie logo, at least among the fan base. I think K-State Athletics calls it the Shaggy Cat logo or something like that. So they have their own official name for it, but they didn't come out with that name publicly until after our podcast existed.
I might have to go find a picture of the mascot and its crazy eyes and insert that here.
Yeah.
I love it. I love it, guys. You guys are fantastic, man. Check them out on YouTube, guys. They are fantastic. I highly recommend that you do that. Even if you're not a K-State fan, listen. I wasn't until they donated Will Howard to us, which I tip of the hat. Appreciate that, guys. But let's just start there, man. Let's go quarterback, guys. Let's talk about him, man. Year 2 of Avery Johnson here, guys. And how would you grade his first year as a starter last year? And what are the expectations here this season? Start with you, Fireball Matt.
Yeah. I think everybody in the fan base is excited to see how Avery develops in this offseason. after his first full year as a starter, I just for everybody, I'm probably the most pessimistic of the group in general with everything K-State. And so I would have graded his first season as a starter as like a B. I think he had some really, really big moments in this season, but he also had some things that he really probably needed to develop a little bit better. Things like accuracy and with long passes and some decision-making pieces that haunted us in a couple games in the November timeframe this year. We were 7-1 going into the first kind of week of November, and then you hit this slide where you lose on the road in Houston because of a bad mistake that Avery made, a bad interception. We were down 24-0 at a half against Arizona State at home. Had a bad interception. Just some overall, just some low moments where the decision making was a little bit of a factor. And so I think a lot of us this offseason are excited because we saw some really great glimpses of Avery for a good portion of the season. Maybe you would say 70-30, good to bad. But, he still last year was the single season touchdown passing record. He broke that in his first season. So I'm excited because I think, especially being able to keep him with the transfer portal and all that type of stuff. I'm really excited to see what his development looks like, how he matures as a starter, how he becomes a more mature leader of the team on the sideline of the offense, and just being the face of the program, for the second straight year. There's a lot to be excited about. And basically, I think where Avery Johnson goes this season from an improvement perspective is where this team's ceiling can be, which is why all of us really, feel we have a great shot this year in the Big 12 to make it to the Big 12 championship game, potentially win that, make the college football playoff.
Yeah, I feel you on that. Chef, if there's a portion of Avery's game that you feel he needs to improve in order for K-State to reach those goals that Matt just mentioned, what would that be and why?
For me, I think it's not even necessarily something statistical because, like Matt just laid out there, the numbers are there. I mean, in terms of K-State history, you're not going to be putting up, Alabama Heisman quarterback numbers. I mean, if he did, that would be insane. Obviously, we'd be going wherever he leads us. But I think it is more just him getting out of that shell, that sophomore shell where he was just not that sure of himself. He always made the right decision, even in the bowl game leading into his first full season as a starter. He made all the right moves. He threw the ball away, even at the detriment of his completion percentage. But this is the time where he's the man. He is the quarterback. There's nobody looking over his shoulder. He's got all the NIL deals. He's got all that stuff taken care of. It is his time to shine. So he needs to be assertive. He needs to put his mark on the game. So whether that is, like Matt said, that deep ball, let that baby go. You've got the weapons. He insisted that we get offensive weapons for him this season. We signed our first 5-star commitment in the modern era in a freshman tight end that we're probably going to be seeing the field. You've got to exploit those weapons, and that means you have to get out of your own way and let the natural athlete. Because if you watch him in high school, he was the man. And it just takes time for these kids that come out of high school that were the man. They get humbled a little bit, and then they finally get going. And once they get out of their own way, that's when things start skyrocketing. So I think it's really just a psychological thing for him. Just get out of your own way, become that natural athlete and that natural quarterback that you are, and just bring it on the big stage. And I think he will this season. That's where it gets scary for us.
So obviously, football, I think, is the greatest team sport in athletics, and it's obviously the quarterback is the most important position in the greatest team sport. So, Bob, outside of Avery, looking at the offensive side of things, where does this team need to take a step forward offensively in order for him to have the kind of year that Matt and Chef are talking about?
So we've had really elite running back play, as evidenced by Deuce Vaughn, DJ Giddens, two guys that are playing on Sundays now in the NFL. It really has to start and end with the wide receiver room, because tight ends are set, right? We had the most tight ends score a touchdown last year in any tight end room in the nation. I think we had 4 or 5 separate guys individually score touchdowns as tight ends. It's more so we've brought in guys like Jaron Bradley, who played at Texas Tech. We've seen what he can do. He played under Matt Wells when he was out at Texas Tech. He transferred to Boston College and is now back in the system being run by Matt Wells, and he's a fantastic wide receiver. I think he had some all Big 12 honors at certain points of his career when he was still with Texas Tech. We also brought in Jerron Tibbs from Purdue, who's a guy who I believe is a sophomore or junior, so he's a relatively young guy. And he comes in after, Purdue had a pretty dismal season, right? But he comes in and has a tremendous ceiling when it comes to talent. He's a guy that I think Chef has been on a couple of pods to talk about the guy, or at least ask about the guy. Was asking around some of the dudes in the huddle who know more about Purdue athletics to get a feel for what kind of talent could this guy bring to the table. So everybody's really, really jazzed about Jerron Tibbs. And then I think the last one is our returner, which, it's a guy that, I mean, how many guys have we had in the wide receiver room who have had 700 plus yards in a season in the last 10 seasons, guys?
It's honestly sad to even put a number on it, because it's so few. I mean, it's been by committee, it seems like forever, but like Bob is alluding, Jace Brown is that guy. So
and he's Avery's roommate. So there's obviously chemistry and connection there with Jace, and Jace is going into his junior year as well. So he's a guy that came into the program with Avery's. There's obviously a lot of chemistry there. I think the wide receiver room is ultimately going to need to be the room on offense that needs to step forward. And then another big question mark is offensive line, because we did see some attrition. One of our starters ended up leaving the program, and then we had some guys graduate out. But we are returning 3 of the 5 starters from last year still, and then brought in some high caliber transfers, dude from Penn State, a dude from Pitt. Really.
Don't forget about my boy, the Buckeye George Fitzpatrick.
Let's not sleep on him. 2 Big Ten guys, an ACC guy, really, really high caliber talent that we're bringing in through the portal here, which is just, it's exciting to see as a K-State fan, because going back, I mean, if you would have looked 8 years ago when Snyder was still the head coach, we just didn't have transfer talent like this other than Chris Harper and Arthur Brown, which those were guys he recruited out of high school anyway.
So obviously we're talking transfer portal guys now. So Matt, does that mean that the NIL is in the collective and all of that juice is running pretty good there? Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Trolls be giving this is the international sign for NIL now. I didn't know if you guys knew that.
Yeah. I mean, across K-State sports, NIL has been probably a hot topic, especially, I mean, from the basketball perspective, the past couple years. And even though on the football side, some of the numbers and stuff like that, I don't feel like come out as much as we hear about basketball. The NIL group that we have, Bobcat NIL, has been fantastic in making sure that these players are getting an appropriate amount of money to keep them here at K-State. I mean, Avery Johnson's one that obviously is probably the highest NIL that we have on the team. But I'll assure you, and just from the K-State fan base perspective, I mean, if there's a situation where we have a player that, is potentially getting offered something somewhere else, we have alumni that step up, and our NIL collective steps up to make sure that player, we're able to match that player as best as we can. You look from the transfer portal, we are, from a Big 12 perspective, we're an extremely competitive school in that market. From an NIL perspective, we've been in the hunt for a lot of great players. A lot of the, transfers that we brought in this year are guys that are, probably getting a good chunk from an NIL perspective. But we're very lucky. We have a great group that leads it. We have alumni who are extremely supportive across all of our sports, not just football, not just men's basketball, but across all of our sports. It puts K-State as an attractive option with great facilities. for these players to go to. So it's been really good. However, anybody feels about how NIL has been thus far, and obviously there's going to be a lot of changes going on. With that here, with the stuff that the government signed and whatnot. But as of right now, we've been very good with the NIL front.
All right, let's flip over to defense, guys, real fast. Chef, you mentioned your boy Fitzpatrick. You also got another Buckeye that went your way. One who I know personally, by the way.
Let's go,
Yeah.
Gabe Powers.
Yeah.
Very handsome man. I mean, I think we took two of the most handsome Buckeyes that you had. Unfortunately for the Buckeye squad, I mean, it just so happens that y'all got a little rougher around the faces and we got a little more handsome. It's just how it is.
Well, you guys did give us Will Howard the year before as a Buckeye fan, so it's all fair in love and war. But Powers is a football. He's a man's man. He is a football player through and through. The dude he's the type of guy who the coach will say, "See that brick wall over there? I want you to go tackle it," and he'll go, "Aye, aye, Captain. I'll go make sure I tackle that brick wall." Big, fast, athletic guy, and a very good human being, and that's what I know about him. I actually got to see him work with kids in a football camp and interact with kids, and he was fantastic. He was in his element doing that, and so he's a good human being. But let's talk defense. Let's talk defense beyond that. Where's K-State stand defensively, Chef?
Man, I mean, it's so weird the era that we're in with this climate era. When we switched from this 3-3-5, we had some players in that 4-down system, but I think a lot of the players that Kleiman and his defensive staff have gone after really fit the mold better, and it's acquiring talent in this system that has made us flourish so well. A lot of big bodies on the defensive line, a lot of twitchy linebackers that can blitz up the A-gap and around the edges, and a lot of DBs. This is really where the cream rises right here, is in our defensive back field, where we're getting draft picks every single season, probably for the past 5 or 6 years. And a lot of them are transfers, which is also a big part of what we were just talking about. That's a really high selling point. But for this year's defense, we're relying on a lot of young talent, especially at corner. Safety, we have a couple wily veterans and a really wily veteran transfer from in the conference in Gunnar Maldonado. And then at linebacker, we have arguably one of the best linebackers if you rely on PFF grades. I don't know how everybody else feels about PFF grades, but they're a little hit or miss. But if you're going to go with them, and if it's positive for K-State, I will ride with them. So Austin Romaine, probably the highest graded linebacker returning in college football. So take that for what it's worth, but he is a stud. The Romaine salad is the truth. He'll get after you and he'll lay wood. And then the defensive line, we've got, guys that are getting their 7th year of eligibility. We have the young crop of defensive ends that we've recruited and molded over time to fit this three-down system. And we're sneaking different things and different packages in so we can get more pass rushers in a Big 12 that I think is the perception of the Big 12 is that we're a spread them out, throw it all over the yard kind of conference. But we really kind of went to this, run it down your throat. The best running backs were coming from the Big 12, and that's where our strongest position was. And now I think the quarterbacks are starting to get a little bit more shine. We're starting to get back to that spread it out style. So these edge rushers are vastly important. And a name that you're going to want to hear is Chidi Obiezor. He's absolutely huge. He's an SEC build. And that's we just didn't have that in the Bill Snyder era. As much as talent as we had and people we put into the league and all that, we just never had a frame like this.
There you go. So it sounds like defense has got a ton of potential as well for the Wildcats in 2025. All right, Bob, I want to talk a little bit about Coach CK, man. You want to talk about consistency. This man is the definition of consistency. I'm going to read to you guys what he's done in his 6 years at K-State. 2019, 8-5. 2020, COVID year, 4-6. No one really counts it anyways. 2021, 8-5. 2022, 10-4. 2023, 9-4. 2024, 9-4. Is this the year he goes 10-2?
I would love that. I think we would all love that. And ultimately, if everything comes together the way that we are hoping that it will, with Avery taking that next step in his junior year, with some of the transfer talent that we brought in around him to bolster his offensive weapon, arsenal that he has available at his disposal, bringing in, like we've already mentioned, our first 5-star at tight end, a weapon that we'll be able to leverage on day one, whether he's kind of an oversized wide receiver or playing tight end, doesn't really matter. You look at the speed of a guy like Dylan Edwards. You look at just the weapons and the speed of this offense and what they emphasize offensively going into year 2 of Matt Wells being the quarterbacks coach for Avery. It really kind of has to culminate this year, because if it doesn't, we're still going to lose a couple of guys next year, and you really don't want to have to rely on Avery's senior year being that ultimate goal. If Avery is as good as everybody thinks he can be, he may not be here next year. He may be playing on Sundays next year. And so I think everybody really needs to hone in and buckle down and think like this could be the year that K-State goes 10-2. And you're listing off all the numbers and everything there. When you look at Chris Kleiman over the course of the last 3 years in the Big 12, he has the best win percentage, and it really isn't even remotely close when you look at all the other sitting head coaches in the Big 12, with the exception of Willie Fritz, who's only been coaching in the league for 1 year. So even Matt Campbell had a 4-8 season in there, and you have to remember that as well. So everybody talks about Lance Leipold. Everybody talks about Mike Gundy, but we're going to do our Big 12 power rankings for head coaches after the show. But nobody's touching the 700 win percentage that Chris Kleiman is at through the last 3 seasons, and it's really not even close.
All right, Matt, I'm going to ask you to be pessimistic. Can you do that?
I'm really expert pessimist.
What do you not like, or what would you like to see improved, if you want to take the more positive part of that question, in Coach CK, man?
Oh wow, that's a good question.
It's why I get paid the big bucks.
Yeah.
I'll probably just say the low hanging fruit that everybody kind of knows, and it's termed the Kleiman clunker, and it's typically at least one game during the season that the team loses. They lose a game they shouldn't lose. Last year, Houston game on the road. Houston's not a very good team. Bad. 2 weeks, very bad. 2 weeks later, the Arizona State game at home, you're down 24-0 at the half.
Big 12 champion, by the way.
I know. The year before, we had plenty. 2 years before that is the Tulane game at home, which Tulane won the Cotton Bowl, but still very bad loss at home. Every year we have a clunker, just a game that team doesn't look to be prepared, doesn't show up. And that's one of the big reasons why I think a lot of people are maybe a little bit pessimistic with what they think the ceiling of this team is, because historically every season you have a game where the team comes out flat and they don't win when they should, when they're favored. So I would say that's probably my the biggest thing about Coach Kleiman that I struggle with as a fan, is because I have this expectation that one of those games is coming, and you look on the schedule and you look, okay, what are the games that potentially that there could be a clunker in this one. So he does a lot of excellent things. He really does. He's an exceptional coach, but that's the one piece, is just not getting out of the way of one game.
See, for me, I get what you're saying, Matt, and we're all Kansas State fans here. We haven't, we're not in that upper echelon where you can just say the thing you don't like about Chris Kleiman is that he loses games. We lose games. That's going to happen. For me, it's the excuses that I don't like. He will have that game and then he'll use an excuse for it. And I don't like that part of it. Like if you just say that we get owned, or like the Houston game is a perfect example. Like, you've got to put that on Connor Riley. In my opinion, you've got to put a blame on it. Like, you can't just say, hey, we just didn't show up today. That's not true. You showed up plenty, but your offensive coordinator in a monsoon decided that he wants to throw the ball on 2nd and 5 when we're in control of the game. Like, to me, that is the ultimate, and that's where a lot of people, like Matt, is going to go with the wins and losses because that's very tangible and he can pinpoint that. But Chris Kleiman employs a lot of his friends, and there's only been really one example where he has kind of put the boot to butt.
You're all good.
He's put the hammer down, and that was Courtney Messingham. That's really the only hard decision that I think he's ever really had to make. Connor Riley made it for him, because I don't know what we would have done at the end of the year. Would we have kept Connor Riley, kept it going? I don't know. But Courtney Messingham is really the only friend that he's had to fire. And some people, don't like that.
Interesting. Bob, I let those guys chime in. You want to chime in here?
For me, it's the Kleiman clunker. It's the same thing that Matt mentioned. I mean, I think we coined that phrase on our pod, maybe not, but it's just so frustrating every year when you have that inevitable game that he drops to an opponent you shouldn't lose to, and it's inexplicable. And there's no reason. I mean, there are moments within each of those games where you can point to and be like, if that one thing goes correctly, then you win that game, and who knows what happens to the rest of the season. And for us as K-State fans, we've had these what if moments virtually every single year that we've had 9 wins or more in the entirety of the program's existence. And that is the most frustrating part about being a K-State fan, because you can point back to 2 or 3 years where you had a national championship berth in your sights if one ball bounces the opposite direction. It's so entirely infuriating of an experience to have to deal with that. And I don't know if it's a K-State issue or a Kleiman issue, but it continues to happen. And if this year can be the year that you can get over the hump and not have that happen, you can have some real magic occur, and that would be great. But it's the Kleiman clunker for me, and it's really not even close.
All right. So for record, Chef, I'm on your side, so it makes it 2-2 here.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Ohio guys got to stay together. All right. So we're not just about pointing out the negative here. We're also about solutions. How do we avoid the Kleiman clunker in 2025? Anybody?
Play games in good weather.
Games in good weather is always kind of the, we tend to do well when there's not extenuating circumstances that, can mess everything up. But really this year, it's the schedule, and it's if you can focus. Because I don't think any of us would say Farmageddon could be a Kleiman clunker. I don't think we all can say that. But you know who can be? Army. And Army's probably not going to be nearly as good as they were last year or probably the year prior to that. But they are still a military program coming off of, a North Dakota team after you're leaving Ireland. You just don't like seeing the service academies on your schedule. And that just leads, you don't like it, because they're going to run the triple option and they're going to do whatever they feel like it. And that's another Kleiman clunker that we've had in the past. Is a bowl game, mind you, but it was versus Navy that could have led us to another 9-win season that year, or 10-win. I'm not sure. May have been a 9-win season that year. But nevertheless, the service academies is something that you have to get over. And then once you get into the meat of the schedule, I mean, Arizona is on a Friday late night game on short notice. You don't like seeing that, but once you get into the conference play, that's where Kleiman really, he finds his magic, and he'll find 7 wins in that. He'll find 7 wins out of them, and that's where we're hoping to get to that 10-win mark, that 11-win mark. Who knows? But we've got to get through the gauntlet of that early schedule of nastiness.
Let's talk about it. Let's look at it. All right, here we go. So I love doing this. I love to find out where people's headspace is, just so when I place money down, I know what to do it as. Because usually I'll go opposite of what the people say to do because they're too close to the situation. However, Fireball Matt is going to probably steer me straight here. So
you want me to get my bag? Let me get my bag ready. My bag. Get the bag boys ready. We're making bets right here. Let's the bag boys. If you're not ready and you're not subscribed to Cocaine Willie, get ready because when the bags come out, that's when you know we're cooking up.
No, that means somebody's cooking.
Well, that in
not
that
the
instance,
person in the bag.
in that instance, I did not cook that week, but nevertheless.
all right, let's do this. You guys are opening up the season. You mentioned it in Ireland, week 0. Is this is considered a conference game?
Absolutely.
On foreign soil. Okay. Okay. Let's talk about it. You like it? You don't like it? What do you guys think?
I mean, holistically, I think the game. So the game, if it was not in Ireland, would have been played in Manhattan this year. Now, a lot of people would be, a lot of people were up in arms about it because you don't want to take away a home game. Especially for college towns where a majority of your economy, through the years when people come in for football games, to lose a home game this year for this was a little tough for some people. There's a lot about this game that is just so nerve-wracking. It's unbelievable. It is a conference game. You're playing a rival, Farmageddon. You're playing a team that is also projected to probably be top 3 or top 4 in the Big 12. And you're playing in an environment which is just completely different compared to anywhere else because you have a 9-hour flight over to Ireland that you have to deal with, and all of the prep and everything. And you're also a week 0 game that a lot of college football people not watching the Big 12 are watching this game. So it's a huge game by those standards. I'm nervous about this game. I'm also shockingly I'm shockingly fine with this game because I think we play Iowa State early on in the season. They're a team that they have some pieces that they got to figure out on their team. You lose 2 big wide receivers that were a huge part of your offense. There's some important players on defense that they lost and that they've got to overcome. I think Iowa State's going to be a scary team midway and late in the season, but playing them early on, I feel comfortable. I feel comfortable.
I'm in that same boat.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Good enough, man. I like it. All right. Moving on here. You come back a week later. It's kind of surprised you don't get a week off to rest there from that. But week 1, game 2, North Dakota. Then Army. Chef, you mentioned Army. And then your other non-conference conference game is going to be Arizona. That is still, am I right in that? That's still a non-conference game, correct?
Non-con game on a Friday on the road after playing a service academy. That is a recipe for bettors galore. Love.
That's and that game was a shootout last year, if I recall correctly.
It was a beatdown. We dismantled Arizona pretty handily. They scored first. I just watched this game. Actually, I love watching games a year later. They scored first, and then they didn't score until probably the 4th quarter.
And Ted McMillan still had 150 yards.
That guy.
Wasn't that early in the season?
It was the 3rd game.
Okay.
And it was a Friday as well in Manhattan. So, they had to go through the same thing, and hopefully that is not a sign of what it's like to go on the road on a Friday in the Big 12.
Okay. I like it. UCF at home to open up conference play.
So bad.
Technically, I guess, to open up conference play on home soil, I guess you could say.
Stateside.
Yeah, stateside. There you go. Baylor on the road.
Whew. That's I mean, if
A
you
lot of people are high on Baylor this year.
the computers, not so much. The computers hate Baylor, but I mean, the human element of this thing. You got a quarterback with a really nice mustache that can sling it around. That was hot at the end of the year, and they have one of the better running backs in all of the Big 12. You really have to put stock into Dave Aranda. Do you trust that he's building it back up to what, that flash in the pan, similar to what Sonny Dykes did in his first year, and then Dave Aranda similar, where he was that flash in the pan, making that Big 12 championship and winning it. So to me, I'm scared on the road. I don't like this, but I also think that we will be favored because I think Baylor has a very not an easy schedule. They're at home versus an Auburn team that's that's going to be fresh, and then they have another game. Oh, SMU,
They're at SMU, and
at
then they
SMU,
play
ACC.
Arizona State.
I mean those are 3 gauntlet games before they have to even play us. If they lose 3, they could easily lose 3 of those games and be out of it, and we're 7.5-point favorites on the road.
Yeah. All right, Bob. Why is K-State's purple superior over TCU?
Well, we have different shades of it. We have lavender in addition to it, and TCU's trying to steal that and make their own lavender stuff. But I mean, we've been true lavender since the 70s, 60s, something like that.
Since Willie was doing cocaine. That's
exactly.
All right, I am not high at all on TCU this year.
I feel like TCU and Baylor are 2 sides of the same coin when you look at Dave Aranda and Sonny Dykes, because the ceiling for those teams is, Aranda wins a Big 12 championship in year 1. Sonny Dykes goes to the Big 12 championship, loses in overtime, and makes the CFP in year 1. And then so they've got, both of those teams have relatively high ceilings when they've got the right pieces together. But I think it's already been alluded to. Can Dave Aranda build it back up? Can Sonny Dykes keep on the momentum that he started building last year? Or is it going to be another 5-7 season? Because we all know what happened at Cal when Sonny Dykes was at Cal. It wasn't great. It wasn't pretty, but he had good talent. So you never really know what you're going to get. Once we get 2 years in a row of some consistency, then I'll feel more confident in those 2 guys as head coaches. But
so Kansas was everybody's darling. The Jayhawks was everybody's darling a couple years ago. Matt, is the shine worn off on those pesky birds in state there?
Those squawks.
I don't know. I wouldn't say so. I think last year obviously was a little bit of a disappointment for them, but in reality, they're still going to be a team that's going to be a pain in the butt. I think whenever you play them, and I think that's the Lance Leipold effect. You have Jalen Daniels, who's obviously coming back. It'll be interesting to see if he can kind of get a spark back. I'm nervous about this game because in the back of my head, it's always kind of like, when's it going to end? When's the streak going to end? It's been so many years. I mean, the streak.
How many now?
The streak has its
17
learner's permit now.
It's driver's license, right?
Yeah.
Depending on the state you're in, but
yeah.
So you just wonder what is it gonna be? So I don't know. I will take a 1-point game out like a win any day of the week against them.
Crazy, Matt. This is the true pessimism right there. I mean,
yeah, I'm feeling that. Yeah,
Kansas is literally garbage this year. They've literally lost arguably their best player in the modern era in their college football tenure, in Devin Neal. They lost their entire wide receiver core. Kansas's offensive line has been bad forever, and their defense, some people are calling them soft. That's just what I'm hearing. I'm hearing that. So, I mean, for me, I'm not worried about Kansas. And their stadium is it even going to be complete by the midseason? Who knows? It might be a construction zone what we're going to be playing. We might be playing on gravel for all I know. So I am not worried about Kansas one bit.
Oh, you go from gravel back home to the team that that is swimming in oil money this offseason. Texas Tech, are they the team to beat this year in the Big 12?
I don't think so, because every year going into the year, someone is, putting them at the top of their list is, they've got the best class, they've got the best transfer portal cycle, they've got the most money, and Joey McGuire every year goes 7-5 or 8-4. He's like Cliff Kingsbury, but without the 5-7 seasons. So until, again, similar, I feel like all three of these guys, Dave Aranda, Joey McGuire, and Sonny Dykes, are all three sides of a two-sided coin. I don't know how that works.
Is that what's happening in Texas? That's oil money. There's three sides to a two-sided coin in Texas.
They're all the same. All three of those guys are the same. They have tons of money. They have tons of resources. They have great facility. And who knows what the ceiling could be if they can put it together. But we certainly haven't seen it with Tech. We've seen it with the other two, at least.
Some people call that parity in the league, and some people like it.
There is a lot of parity in the Big 12. It sure feels that way. All right, Chef, who's got the better hair? Mike Gundy or Avery Johnson? Who's got the better hair?
Oh man, I mean, for me, I think Avery Johnson will grow out of it eventually. That's that young man hair. That's that young Fabio hair. I mean, leverage it for your advantage, young man. But Gundy is a staple. When he brought that mullet out, no one was doing the mullet unless you're Theo Vaughn. And now all the kids are doing it. And some people are saying that Gundy did that. And I like Gundy's mullet. It's very simple. It's very tail whippish. It's very Oklahoma, if you ask me. That's a rodeo mullet if I've ever seen one. That's an OAN mullet. So, I mean, for me, I'm going to go with Gundy. Now, will his team be any good? I don't think so either. I mean, it's not going to be better than his mullet. No Ollie Gordon. They didn't use him right last year anyway, so God knows what's going on in Stillwater.
Matt, is Utah back this year?
Oh,
yeah. I think they have the potential to win the conference. I believe in Devin Dampier that they brought in from New Mexico. He's a really great quarterback. I trust in Kyle Whittingham. I think he's one of the top coaches in the Big 12. Just from what he's done in his history. I don't have any qualms about saying he can build a team back up to be in the running to win the conference. This is a scary game. This one. I think for us, we really have to hope Utah is not great. Because if you have a good Utah team, the environment, that's going to be a very tough place to play. Very similar to BYU when we went to BYU last year. Their fan base, is very passionate. Obviously, we see a lot about their fan base. So I'm scared about this game. I think this is one that, you could really, depending on what this Utah team looks like this year, they could easily be in the running to win the conference.
All right, Bob, on a scale of 1 to 10, 1 being how competitive the Pac-2 is, 10 being national championship Ryan Day, how overrated is primetime in Colorado?
So, I struggle with this one because I get spoon-fed Denver sports media every day on talk radio. And I think he's done what he did last year, I think was objectively fantastic. I think he had a great year at Colorado, but we're going to really find out this year how much of that was Shedeur and Travis Hunter, and how much does he have the ability to install a program and a system and a scheme and start to move guys through this progression instead of, cleaning house every year. He has retained a lot of the talent that he brought in over the last couple of years. And he brought in a guy from K-State through the transfer portal cycle this most recent time with Noah King, right?
King.
So I just hope I don't anticipate Colorado being that great this year. They're certainly not going to win 9 games, but I do think they'll be maybe in that 6-6, 7-5 range. But yeah, they're not packed too bad. They're not Ryan Day good, but I think Dion is appropriately rated by a lot of people. I think he's so talked about as an overrated coach, but he's also so he's so dogged on by so many people too that I think that the truth is somewhere in the middle, which makes him, in the grand scheme of things, it averages out, and he's somewhere in the middle.
But does he actually coach Colorado? Because I mean, he's not with the team, so I don't know.
He's in Texas right now. Yeah, but he did do press conferences. At least I heard the sound bites. So I don't know for spring ball.
All right, Chef, give me your absolute worst bottom of the floor basement record and give me your in the attic, rooftop, ceiling, best case scenario record. What is the range this year for the K-State Wildcats?
I think the floor is 8-4. Unfortunately, it's 8-4. I mean, we've got 2 road games at the end of the season where I think we've won 1 game in Stillwater since like 2002. I'm not entirely sure. That's ugly. That's an ugly stat to have on the resume. And Utah, like Matt said, it's a Kyle Whittingham team, and you don't usually see 2 consecutive games where they're gonna have stinkers. And then Baylor, very scary. Arizona, I mean, as bad as they could be on a short week, it could happen where we slip up. And then Iowa State is a coin flip. So I don't think we lose all 5 of those, but 4 of those is possible. And then for me, if you're asking me my best case scenario, I'm going to homer it, and I'm going to say we only lose 1 game. Okay. I'm not going to say undefeated because I don't remember the last time in my lifetime that we've actually done that. Never. So I'm not going to say it starts now with this team. But I do think there is a possibility where we only lose 1 game of these. I mean, it's the Big 12. It's not like we're trying to do the SEC West back in the day. It is what it is. It's the Big 12. And I think we can get it done.
Bob, you agree, or do you got different numbers?
I think the ceiling is what would it be? 13-2. So you win.
Oh, you're going playoffs.
Just go give me regular season.
Yeah, I think okay. Yeah, so I think you lose 1 game in the regular season, you win the Big 12 championship. I think that's the ceiling of this team. You go to the CFP, hopefully you win a game, but maybe you lose 1 and then move on, or hopefully you win and then move on. But I think you're inevitably going to lose at some point during that line. But the floor for Kleiman, it's 5 losses, right? I think is his floor outside of a COVID season. I don't think we're going to be that bad at any point. And this team is better than the team last year. I think when you look at everything, and if everything goes the way it should with Avery making progressions and kind of cleaning his game up a little bit, then I'm going to say the floor is 9-3.
Matt?
8-4, 11-1.
Cool.
Yeah.
All right. If I go to a K-State game, Matt, what do K-State fans say to each other? Obviously, I'll wear that beautiful purple shade so I don't get confused as a TCU fan. So what do K-State fans say to each other so that I would fit in?
Friends let their friends listen to at Cocaine Willie. No, I'm kidding. I always say EMAW, every man a Wildcat. We have this hand signal for the Cats.
Right hand only.
And I mean,
Go State is a popular one.
Go State or Go Cats.
State.
And Go Cats.
Okay.
So we figure it out when we see K-State people across the world or across the country. Like, I wear K-State stuff like when I travel all the time, and I always run into people. So that's like big thing. Go Cats, Go State.
I love it.
Chef, Bob, Matt, Cocaine Willie Podcast. Go check them out, guys. They're on YouTube. If you can't find them, go over to thecollegehuddle.com. Head on over to the Big 12, scroll down to K-State. There you'll find their College Huddle page with all of their social media links so that you can find them. And if you see one of these, especially Chef, if you're running around in Central Ohio and you see him wearing his purple stuff, man, throw it up there. Go State, right? Give him a Go State. He'll reply to you. Thank you so much, guys. I appreciate y'all all coming on. Make sure you like the show, guys. Subscribe to the channel if you don't mind, everybody. Leave us a comment down in the comment section below. We want to know what you think about what we think down in the comment section below. Let's have a conversation about K-State season in the Big 12, everybody. Go check them out, everybody. Thanks, you guys. Appreciate you coming on. Go Cats.
Go Cats, baby.